All right. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to look at Istio. This is basically going to be an introductory session about Istio and how we could, deploy microservices and what are the challenges that micro Istio specifically addresses when it comes to developing and deploying microservices on Azure, local or any cloud for that matter. Right. In this particular session, we're going to do everything in the local machine. Of course, we could do this in cloud, but I chose to do this in the local machine. So before we get started, let's quickly look at the agenda. So this is the agenda that I've prepared. Let's quickly learn about microservices because at the end of the day, this is all about solving the challenges of Microsoft deployment and accessing microservices. So let's take a moment and introduce what a microservices is, and then we'll look at the challenges of microservices and introduce service mesh. That's what Istio has pioneered. And we'll also look at how does it work, and then we'll go through the key features of Istio, like traffic management, security, and observability. And then we'll also go through a lot of demos. So this is mostly demo-based presentation where we go through each of the concept, and then we will learn by demonstrating how that particular challenge is solved by Istio. Thereby, we could we could get more understanding about these topics. Okay, so first and foremost, whatever that you're going to see on this topic is already committed into my GitHub repo. So this is the GitHub repo. I will also put this in the chat in a while. And then I don't have a PPT because this is demo heavy. So I thought I will put everything in the README, and then I can simply copy paste the comments. So lazy me. So this is completely README. So you can simply clone this on your environment if you'd like to follow me. You could simply follow me and execute the instructions given on the README instructions one by one. All right. So enough of topic. A quick about the environment. So I'm using VS Code, and the code is being cloned here. And I have the terminal open here, and this is the preview window of my Markdown file. You could do very similar one by installing the necessary add-ons, right? All right, so that's about the environment that we are looking at. And now let's get started with understanding what microservices are, right? Because microservices are the current rage. In fact, many organizations has taken a step to migrate their monolithic applications to microservices simply because of the various advantages that Microsoft offers to modernize their existing application and then so on, right? Now, if you're new to microservices, it's important that you understand what it is and what are the what is its definition. So I quickly went to Wiki and I found a lot of different definitions about microservices. Honestly, there's no one definition because this is an evolving topic. So people are defining the way they find it, they use it, they experience it. And one of the definitions that I really like, and I think it closely resembles to what really microservices are, it defines as services are small in size, right? It makes sense. People are coming from monolith. They understand the various challenges that are introduced by monolith. I mean, monolith solutions are good. It's not that bad. But then when you have a very continuous incremental feature development and deployment, and if your teams are big and if you want to use multiple different technology stack, that's when things start to crack in a monolith solution. So that's when microservices shine. Right, so services are small in size. A small size of team can build incremental features or introduce new services that they can take it to market. Messaging enabled because microservices needs to talk to each other to convey or to process messages. We cannot depend on one single system. So it is important that we introduce a message, a queue-based system to interoperate or interconnect between one or more services, and bounded by context, right? This is another key topic within the microservices world. How small or how context the microservice should be. do I share a context between one microservice to another services, right? And then autonomously develop. So this is another interesting topic that's connected to the size. At each, it's up to the team, but most of the teams, pick to build their particular features autonomously without interrupting other features or other teams within the larger development team. Independently deployable, decentralized, and built and released with automated processes, right? So this is one of the definitions that I found, and I think this is very closely related to what microservices are, right? Now, if you're closely looking at each and every highlights about or the features about microservices, that you could fairly relate the challenges that these microservices can introduce, right? So if you look at this picture, right? So here we have several microservices. In a typical production environment or in typical application, there could be 5 or 10 or hundreds of microservices depending upon the complexity of the application, the nature of the applications, right? Now, when you have so many services, it is hard to, first of all, visualize, and it is hard to manage the traffic, right? Because we need to understand which services is calling what other services. Is it allowed to call the other services? How is the connectivity between one microservices to another services is secured? What if one service is staying in one of the pod and other services is in another pod or a different network? How do we enable the connectivity between such a vast infrastructure or environment, right? So you could now think of a lot of challenges. And of course, the important one is also discovery, right? Because the services can come and go. They could be short-lived. Developers can continuously build features or test or fix bugs, and they could continuously push new versions of the application. So they could come and continuously go. So if that is the case, how do we identify and route the traffic? Who maintains the list of services that one application can call, right? Of course, these are some thing can be handled by the developers, but it is hard to handle everything at the development layer, right? Because many of what we are now talking about is mostly the infrastructure challenge, right? Be it traffic routing, be it fault handling, be it security of the interconnected services, right? So all of them are infrastructure or networking and security related problem, which is no way beneficial for the developers or even for the actual business, right? And hence, there must be some way to handle this, and that is what service mesh concept is all about. A service mesh is basically a dedicated infrastructure layer facilitating a service-to-service communication, right? Because many of the topics that we talked about is no way related to the application development or to the actual, it doesn't add any value to the actual businesses. So it doesn't make sense to put them or handle them in the development. And hence, service mesh kind of concepts or services could greatly elevate these challenges from the development team and handle at a different layer altogether. Now, there's a common question that people might ask if you are coming from Kubernetes. Kubernetes can handle some of the challenges that we're talking about, but not all, right? Of course, experienced Kubernetes people have hacks to manage some of this traffic management, blue-green deployment or canary deployment, load balancing using Nginx or other ingress gateway providers. But to understand, Kubernetes is basically infrastructure orchestration engine, or basically a container orchestration engine, or it deals at the infrastructure layer, nothing at a layer 7 or application specific layer, right? So that's where service mesh kind of concepts really shines. Now, there are several service meshes out there in the market, and Istio is one of the key player in the market, and it is very popular simply because it comes from Google. the same provider that was built by Kubernetes, right? And Istio brings in the power of multiple different components, right? So what you're looking at in the next image is the pattern, the the Istio specific pattern or sidecar pattern, right? That introduces a proxy that could handle all the challenges that we talked about in the previous layer as part of a sidecar, right? Sidecar is basically a container which has the proxy. The proxy is nothing but an Envoy proxy, which is also a very famous proxy that is originally built by Lyft, right? Now, Istio has taken Envoy proxy and then they have enriched Envoy proxy by adding a lot of different capabilities, right? Now, what we are now looking at is a sidecar pattern which deploys the proxy component next to each of the microservices that we have, right? Now, what the key benefit by following this approach is we are not really touching, right? So this is also highlighted as one of the key benefits by the developers, right? So no code change or close to zero code change, right, is required for deploying Istio service mesh on top of Kubernetes workload, right? So if you already have an application which is running in Kubernetes with zero change or with minimal change, you will be able to introduce Istio right on top of that. So if you are new to the sidecar pattern, probably this image would help you understand how or what we are talking about here, right? So we got a car or a bike, and then there is a sidecar which is connected to the main vehicle. So in this case, a bike. Now, Istio follows very similar pattern or sidecar pattern, right? So it hooks a proxy with each and every workload or every application or container, which usually runs in a pod. So this is one of my service. Just say this is your web page service, and Istio additionally hooks a container which takes care of the routing, the traffic management, load balancing, all the policies that we're going to talk about in a few moments. And then it also takes care of security, ingress, egress, and everything, right? So Istio achieves everything by injecting a sidecar, and sidecar handles everything for us. Right. So I think we talked about Istio a lot. So Istio is an open source service mesh that helps us to run a distributed microservices apps anywhere. So it can run on virtual machine. It can run on Kubernetes. It is a first-class service mesh for Kubernetes. It natively works on Kubernetes-based workloads, right? Now, Istio addresses three major areas. One is, of course, securing our workloads, right? Because it is very important that we secure microservices and avoid any threat surface or any malicious player accessing our microservices or injecting data and so on. So it is very important that we secure our clusters. And second, connect, right? Because there are a lot of microservices. We need to really understand the list of services that we have, take a discovery, understand who can connect to what, put a policy, which user can do what on the pods and so on, or the microservices, right? So we are going to look at this in a little more deeper in the upcoming slides. And then monitoring microservices. For me, this is one of the major benefit, right? The moment I plug in Istio on top of my Kubernetes workload, immediately I can get visibility into the auditing, logging, the communication between the services to another services if there is any fault. So this is a very interesting area. At least I really find this as an interesting, because I run a workload in production, and I'm currently exploring this how to enable Istio on top of our production clusters, right? Now, before we go to the demo, let's quickly understand the overall architecture, right? So we talked about the services and how Istio could inject our proxies, right? Proxies, these are basically envoy proxy enriched or adapted to support the features that Istio offers. So there are two major planes, right? So this is the mesh, the outer box, and this is my data plane. This means data or requests are coming in. Somebody is coming via an ingress traffic. We will look at what an ingress is in a moment. But this is an edge that people could access our service. So a request comes here. A request directly doesn't directly go to service. It goes via proxy. Anything that needs to serve by service is only will go via proxy. A proxy is the one which will connect and get the data. And if the service needs access to other services or needs to collect data from other services, the proxy will make a connection to another proxy. And the proxy will then connect to its own service and get the data and so on, right? At times, if the services needs to get the data from, let's say, a SQL server or other workloads that is running in on-premise or other workload, we could also configure a egress. This is another edge wherein we could define policies that restricts what this service could do and so on, right? So this is the data plane, and then there is a control plane. Control plane is where the control happens, right? So basically, if you look at what is given here, there is a Istio daemon, and Istio daemon contains multiple different components. The pilot, as the name suggests, pilot is the one which controls the proxy. So anything that any configuration that we put into Istio, pilot takes it and then it conveys that or configures that against the proxy, the envoy proxies. Citadel is another component which takes care of the certificates. Everything that is secured within the microservices follows mutual authentication. That's another thing that we're going to look at in the demo. And finally, Galley. Galley is a configuration engine. So anything that we provide in YAML file is converted into Istio understandable configuration, and likewise for other infrastructures as well. Okay, so enough of this. Now let's quickly look into the features one by one. So the first one is the traffic management. So we've been talking about the feature management being one of the important aspects of Istio. So under the traffic management, we have several features such as request routing. Right? Request routing is all about when a service receives a request, how can it redirect or route to multiple different services? Right? This is a very common need of most of the application. For example, let's say this is my homepage. Homepage connects to service B, and service B has multiple versions, right? So this could be my major version, and these are my canary versions or AB versions of my services. So we could define how the service can connect to multiple different services. Or in case if I want to introduce this canary version, and I want to send 95% of my traffic to this and only 5% of the traffic here, I will be able to do that as well. And here the scenario is service A calls a different set of services based on the user agent. So this is HTTP based header. If the header contains a keyword like Android, the request can go to this services, or other requests that contains iPhone maybe can be served by Canary, right? So this, you could simply imagine what's the possibility with the header-based routing, right? So that can be done as well. Now, before we go to the security and observability, so let's quickly get into the demo and start with the cluster as well. All right. So in order to follow along, or if you want to try this in your machine, make sure you have all the prerequisites. The first and foremost, you need to have a Kubernetes cluster. You could use the Docker for Desktop, which comes with the Kubernetes cluster inbuilt, or you could go to Azure Kubernetes cluster as well. It's up to you. And then Docker. So this is very important because everything that we're doing is based on containers. So this needs to be there. and Helm is optional, and Istio. So Istio is the component that we are talking about, and hence Istio also needs to be installed. So in order to simplify, I have already installed everything on my machine, and what I'm going to do is simply run this command to make sure that I have everything. kubectl is throwing the version back, and I also have the Docker here, and Helm is also present, and finally I have the Istio control as well. All right, and now let's quickly look at my Docker settings. So this is my Docker for desktop, and so here we have the settings tab. Make sure you have the Kubernetes enabled, right? So you may ignore these, but make sure both of them are green. So, all right, so once you have this running, then we are good to start. And one other thing that you need to keep in mind is Istio, and generally Kubernetes requires a good amount of memory and connectivity, right? Because Istio is a proxy that is going to sit next to each one of your containers or each one of your microservices. So if you have, let's say, 5 services, then Istio is going to spin up additional 5 microservices next to each one of your microservices, right? So in your pod, which means if you have 5, then consider additional 5. So the 10 microservices or 10 containers are going to run. So which means it is going to eat your memory and power, right? Hence, consider trying this on a beefy machine. All right. The next setup is Istio installation. So this Istio installation is very simple. If you're using Linux, simply follow this. This would automatically download and install Istio on your machine, and then it would also add the path so that you could Istio control immediately. Likewise, if you're using Windows like me, you could go to this location to download Istio. Here you will find the setup by versions. You could also go back to the previous version, always stay at the new version. And then lastly, you could also use Charco to install Istio control. So fairly, it is a very easy step to get started with Istio. All right. So since we are talking about demo microservices, we needed a microservices application, right? And Istio, the community, the Istio community, have done a great job of building a microservices and documenting it in very detail, right? So if you are interested to getting started with this, probably you could get started with Istio in other 30 to 45 minutes, including installation, getting the application working in just 45 minutes. And what I have done is basically a cut short version of what I found on their documentation, right? So the first step is understanding the sample application, right? So when you go to their documentation page, this is what you will find. The Microsoft application is built with multiple stack. The first homepage is built using Python. In fact, you will also find the source code on their same repository. And then there is a reviews microservices, which has multiple versions. The first version will not have a reviews as an output. The second version will give us rating with black and rating with red. And then this review service will call the rating. Rating is the one which gives this output, right? So that's how it is formed. And then there is one last service that is details. On the product page, you will find a book details, because this is all about booking information or book information. So this is a good starting place for us to first understand how to build microservices, and second, how these microservices can be used to demonstrate Istio, right? So you could find more information about this application by going to this URL, right? All right, so the first step, once you have Istio installed, is setting up the environment, because like we talked about, we need all these environments and control planes so that we could control or introduce this proxy, sidecar proxy, into our service mesh. So the first thing is setting up Istio environment, right? And before we do that, let's quickly go run and see how our Kubernetes looks, our cluster looks, right? So let me say kube control get pod in the default namespace, right? So there's no resource found at this moment. And let's also look at our user interface, because it is always easier by navigating to the helper utilities that comes with VS Code. All right, so here I have the AKS or Kubernetes extension for VS Code installed, and that gives me a lot of capability. So maybe you might be using this already. So here we are looking at the namespaces. This is the plain or inbuilt internal containers that runs the Kubernetes, and there's nothing inside default, right? So I just wanted to show you before I install the Istio components. The first step is to install Istio, and this is going to create a namespace called Istio system, and then it is going to install all the necessary components that we saw before, such as the Istio D, which contains Pilot, Citadel, and Galley. So it is going to take a while, but it should be fairly quick because I've tried this multiple times in this machine, and hence I have all the images already. So it was fairly quick for me. Okay, so now if we refresh this, we will see a new namespace here called Istio system. So now let's go and say clear, and let's say kube control get all, and the namespace of Istio system. We will see all the components that Istio has installed for us, right? For example, here we have egress, the one that we talked about here, right? That's a gateway, and then another ingress gateway. This is another component that we could use to configure who can come and the host, and then so on. And finally, the Istio D, which combines all these components into one component, right? So these are the key components that must be in place for us to start with the rest of the process, right? Now, there is a quick command to check if everything is in place and everything looks good. Otherwise, there'll be a red everything is successful, which means all the components in place, and I can get started with my further exploration. Right, now for the rest of the one, what we're going to do is deploy this application in a new namespace and then start playing with the different features of Istio, right? So the first step that we could do is, let's create a new namespace for us to play with the system, because this way we can quickly clean up, modify, update, and so on. And once we play, we can simply go ahead and remove this namespace. That way we can get rid of all the application or microservices that we deployed. All right, so I have just created a namespace. Now let me go ahead and set this namespace as my default so that I don't need to mention namespace whenever I deploy the application, right? Now let's go and check if the new namespace has come here. This is my new namespace and the global Azure, and that has been set as the default. Now, if I do any kube control apply or delete, that would happen directly on this namespace. All right. The next step that we have to do is instruct Istio about the namespace where my application is going to be deployed by attaching a label, right? So there are two ways, in fact, to do this. We could either directly deploy the sidecar using Istio control, or we could simply label the namespace where my application is going to be deployed, and Istio will automatically deploy the sidecar as and when I deploy my application. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm simply saying kubectl label the namespace global Azure with this label, right? So here we go. Let's copy and paste it. This is going to label by namespace. Now, if you want to see the labels, we can simply say show the labels, and here we go. We have our global Azure namespace, and we also have labels attached with Istio injection is enabled. Now, if I deploy any application or any deployment on this namespace, Istio will observe the changes, and then it will automatically inject the sidecar. Right? So to observe that, let's quickly look at the deployment. Right? So we now ready to deploy an application to see this in action. Okay. So and for that I have copied the book info YAML. So let's quickly look at the book info YAML application. So this is the plain vanilla Kubernetes YAML construct, right? So these are simply the Kubernetes objects. There's no difference at all. There's nothing specific to Istio here, right? So here, like we discussed, there are multiple services. The first service is a details page. So we have a service object here, and this is exposed in 9080, and there is a service account. So the service account is basically the one which gives the identity for us to for the microservices, right? So this service account is the one which will be attached. And then deployment is the one which allows us to run the container. So here we have one container which connects to Docker, Istio, example. So these are pre-built images that we are simply reusing. These are good. Before you get started with your actual application, at least play with this demo application. There are several demo applications. The one that we are using is the one that comes with Istio itself. These are battle tested. So you may get started with this demo application, play with it multiple times and play with it, the scenarios that you have in your application before you actually touch your application, right? So now what we're looking at is the book info application. The first one is the details page. The second one is the ratings component. And here the rating, similarly service account and then deployment. And in the deployment, you could see this also has one container, booking ratings v1 116.2. Likewise, we have service, another service called reviews. This is also exposed to 1980, and then service account and deployment. So if you look at the containers, here we have container book info reviews and with version, and finally the reviews with multiple containers, I guess. Right, so this is deployment revision reviews v3 and v2. So there are multiple deployment for reviews v1, v2, v3, right? So spend some time going through this because this is the one which is going to get deployed. All right, so hope you have played with Kubernetes. So what I'm going to do is simply deploy that particular application into my namespace. Okay, where is it? Okay, here we go. Perfect. So this has created all the services. Again, it was very quick simply because I had the images cached and it is already played multiple times, and hence it was very quick. Now what we could do is go quickly and check if all the services is downloaded and ready to serve. Okay, now if you look at the list, I'm trying to get all the parts, the services that we deployed, and then the deployments, right? And then the replica set. Now you're seeing 0 out of 2, right? Because we just deployed 1, but then here we have 2. This is because Istio has injected the sidecar automatically, and hence it is 2. Now, once the parts and deployment comes up, we will be able to see both the containers, both the microservices there. So let's quickly do once again, and now everything is in place, right? Now, if we go and look at what's running inside, we will be able to see multiple containers in in each of the microservices. All right, so here we go. All right, so that is, so now this sample application is up and running. And now let's go ahead and execute a command to get the application up. So this particular command is basically to, okay, let me reduce this and this as well. This command basically goes and grabs the home page or the details page, right? So that's the first page that is served to the users. Now it is up, and now we can quickly open this and go to the browser and try to access the application. Now the application is not up because we don't have any ingress, or the edge is still not configured. And in the next step, that is what we are going to do. So we need to introduce a gateway or the ingress gateway that could serve our request, right? Now, before we execute it, let's quickly look at the ingress gateway to understand the configuration a bit. So here we go. So it is a very simple service. So again, the ingress gateway or the gateway is Istio's own CRD, right? So if you have prior experience with Nginx, you could very well relate to what we are talking about here. So this is basically an edge, a gateway that can take our incoming request, right? So now here we are exposing port 80, and then on the protocol HTTP, and we could take any host, right? And the next one is virtual service. A virtual service is basically a service that can take, once the request is hit into the gateway, virtual service is the one which redirects the service or the request to multiple services. So here you could see it is connected to the gateway, and it can take any host. And here we are doing a match, URL matches, and based on if the page matches to each or any one of this, the destination is going to be product page, right? Now, if this, in order to get our microservice exposed, we need to install this gateway and the microservices, right? And let's do that in the next command. We'll go back and copy that command and deploy our book info gateway. Here we go. So it is installed. Now there is a command to quickly check if there is any issues. If everything is good, it would tell us no validation issues found when analyzing the namespace global Azure. This is a good sign, and there is no problem whatsoever. So we are good to access this application. So before we access, let's look at the get service, the ingress gateway. So if you look at group control get svc namespace Istio system, we will find all the gateway, and what we are interested in is the ingress gateway. So if we execute the get service, it will tell us the external IP. So external IP is localhost, and I can reach to 80 to access the demo application or book info application. So same goes here, and now let's refresh, and here we go. So we have the demo application up and running. Okay, so we have 3 services or reviews version, and that is giving a different versions. Okay, now this is the default behavior. Now let's say we would like to stick with just the yellow rating and not with the black ones or the empty routings or ratings. Let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so that's going to be our next task. All right, so in order to do that, let's introduce a destination rule. So before we introduce a destination rule, let's look at what destination rules are. So destination rules basically defines version and the host for every microservice, right? For example, here we have a product page, and anything that comes with the product page, I would like to redirect, or I would like to create a destination rule that always takes me to V1, right? And here I have a destination rule for reviews, and here I have multiple subsets, which means I would like to route it to multiple version, right? V1, V2, and V3, right? So you could define as many number of subsets as you want, depending upon our needs, right? And here I have another destination rule, which redirects to multiple different versions of rating, right? So here there are few dummy items. There are no containers for these. But this is just to get us an idea, right? So this destination rule will define, what request will go to, or what call will go to what microservices. And in order to create this, I will simply go and copy paste that particular command to deploy our destination rules. So once the destination rules are created, the next logical step is to create a virtual service for each and every microservices that we have, right? Because in the first step, what we saw here, when we created the gateway, we had one virtual service for the entire application. And in the match section, I was matching if it matches to this particular page, take me to here, and so on. Now, what I would like to do is create virtual services for each and every microservice, just like the way I created destination rules. And in order to do that, let's go back and copy that command and create a virtual service for each of the microservice. I may be running late, so I'm going to rush a bit and get this thing done so that we can cover the rest of the scenarios. All right. Now, what we have done so far is we have created virtual services and destination rules for each and every service. Now, if we go back to the product page, there might be a slight difference now. Earlier, we were seeing multiple different ratings when we're refreshing. Now, everything goes to just reviewer 1. So what this means is anything that request to the rating, it is always going to version 1, and that's where we don't have any color rating, right? If you recall here, reviews always goes to V1, and there is no color rating, and that's what we did now we created the virtual service and a destination rule pointing to just version 1, right? Now, I would leave it here. So please go through the samples and code bases to understand more about what I just demonstrated. All right. So the next thing that we are going to look at is HTTP-based routing, right? Now, one of the features that we talked about is how we could identify a header, message in the header, or key in the header, and route to different service based on that. Now, in this particular YAML file, service reviews test v2. So here we have, I have updated the virtual service of the reviews, and here we are saying if there is any keyword found in the HTTP header as end user, and here I'm matching with the name called JSON. If there is anything like JSON, redirect that particular request to reviews of version 2. For all other users, take them to V3, right? So now let's update this and observe what has changed. Right, so now I have updated this. Okay, so now we have got the red, and in order to inject HTTP header with the name JSON, I need to log in with JSON, and here you see it is V2. V2 is black of the rating, and now if I log out, it would be red. So hope you are able to follow along, and you're able to differentiate the different versions that the requests are getting routed, based on the virtual service and its configuration, right? So this is another great feature, and this would be very much useful when we are, exploring certain features. Or if you want to enable, let's say, a new feature only for certain countries or only for certain browsers or mobiles, or whatever it may be. So features like this would help us to greatly improve the speed in which we can roll this out in a simple manner, rather than doing everything at the application layer, right? And likewise, I also have a few more examples. For example, this one, let me go ahead and run this to bring back to the old situation, and then let me run this. This basically applies 50% traffic to two different servers. Let's quickly open the Reviews 50 v3 version. And here, if you look at, this is applied on the Reviews Microsoft virtual service. And here we have 50% of the traffic goes to Reviews version 1, and 50% goes to version 3. Now, what we could do is we can make this as to v2, because v2 has black and v3 is red. Probably we can try this combination. Again, let's go and say to control, apply EF traffic, and then virtual service Reviews 50. Okay, now this has been applied, and now if I go back and refresh, I should see sorry, 50% going to this and 50% going to a black service and red service. Okay, so you can keep on refreshing this to get a sense of how this is working. Now, while we are exploring this, let's also look at the observability features side by side, so that we could play with this and understand the monitoring part as well, right? Because like we discussed, the observability is a key concept, as well as key benefits of service Istio service mesh, right? So there are several plugins that comes with Istio. So Grafana, Jaeger, Kiali, Prometheus. Honestly, this is also new to me, but I was able to play with them very quickly, and I was able to observe the huge benefits that these add-ons could bring to the table, right? So let's quickly go ahead and apply them. To control, apply. All right. Here we go. So all of them are getting created. This is fine. This should still work. All right. So now let's go ahead and run Kiali while we are observing the traffic management. All right. So in order to do that, we could say Istio control dashboard, and then say Kiali. So Kiali is a distributed a trace management solution or a dashboard, which could help us visualize the microservices that we are deploying. So let's start with this. There are, of course, few configuration issues that we could quickly go and fix it. But let's start with our microservices. All right. And before we could see the data, let me go and run few. Let me run some workload so that we could create some. Let me go and run the load. That is simply calling this page again and again. So here we have the a curl script, which I'm basically calling it, and with the sleep, right? So that's all I'm doing, but this is going to create some load for our application. Here we go. So hope you would see the monitoring capability. So here we have the ingress, and here is where the requests are coming in. And ingress is forwarding the request to our product page, and product page, specifically the version 1, and V1 calls multiple different services. Reviews is one of the service, and then there's a details page, and V3 of reviews calling the ratings. Rating has one version, right? So immediately we could see the benefit of the observability and monitoring and auditing capability that Istio brings to the table. Now, we could also see a lot more capabilities here: response time, request distribution, namespace boxes. There are a lot more things that you could play with it. And yeah, so this is really fun, right? Applications, you could see the health of them. Istio config, there was an error. Let's go and see if there is anything that we could quickly go and fix. Okay, so here we go. There is, the configuration says there is no version of v2. So we can quickly update that right here. All right, so hope you're able to follow along and the various observability features that Istio with Kiali offers for the operators. All right, so from here, let's quickly move on to the other features. Now, we talked about redirection, right? Now, let's go back to PPT. So we talked about the traffic shifting. So we could play with 50 V3, 50% to 80%, 90%, and then we could also put directly everything calling V3. And if we go to here, now everybody will call V3. V3 is red or orange, and that becomes the final microservice or the version that we want to deploy, right? So this is how you could play with the new features that you want to deploy to the production, and you could do a traffic shifting, and if you're happy and finalize with one version that you have, right? Fault injection is another key capability, but in the interest of time, I'm going to skip it. And we saw the observability. So we have the load generation happening. We could also quickly look at, let's say we saw Kiali, and we could also quickly look at Prometheus before we go to the security features. And let's go and get one of the query that we could check. Here we could see the metrics that is coming in. Right, so all these requests would greatly help us to visualize how the system is performing now, how many requests are coming in, a lot of parameters that we could evaluate and verify, right? All right, so that's Prometheus, and likewise, we could also play with the Grafana. Grafana is another interesting tool to see the logs. I'm rushing, but source code is right in the repo. You could play with it. Okay, so Grafana, likewise, we could see several factors and properties spanning from health, the number of requests, and how they're performing, and so on. So this is another interesting plugin that you could play with it. All right, so that's observability. There are a lot more plugins that you may explore. And finally, security. Security is another important component of Istio. So it's going to be hard for me to cover everything, but then let me quickly cover the key capability of Istio, that is authentication and authorization. Right. So with respect to authentication, Istio supports mutual TLS authentication. Right. So what is mutual authentication? Using SSL certificates to validate both the requester or the server and the client, because each of the services within our cluster can be visualized in a server and client. So now each microservices will be issued with mutual TLS certificates, which is given by the Citadel component of Istio, and that gets injected into each and every sidecar proxy. And every time when one microservices calls another microservices, the communication happens between both the services using the mutual TLS, and there is a certificate expiration, which means if you get hold of the security, you cannot reuse the same certificate because that is going to be renewed in a given time frame, right? So the service-to-service communication is always MTLS. That is one. And second feature is JWT, right? So because more and more services are now using what JWT-based authentication and authorization. Now we could offload that from the application and elevate to Istio, right? So at the service level, we could evaluate or authorize the request calls. For example, here let me open the authorization policy that can be achieved to one of the service. And here, what we are saying is there's an issuer, an application, and there is a JWKS URI. So this is basically, if you go here, you will find the public key certificate information or hash information, right? Now, what we're saying by this configuration is when somebody calls with the JWT token, this particular request authentication service will take the call, or will validate the request, and then validate specifically if the JWT token matches against the encryption or encrypted value given in this JWKS value, right? So this way we could offload the JWT validation right out of the application. All right, I think I'm very close to 3, and I'm not sure if there is any question. And I'm going to stop here, and I request you to go through the repository to get the code as well as the instructions given here. And I request you to play with the sample application, as well as go to the Istio documentation page. They've done a massive job of documenting and simplifying this.